Hey, it's Mel, and I just wanted to personally thank you for signing up for this exclusive, amazing content that's all about the top 7 things that you need to do based on the research to raise your visibility at work. Make sure you enjoy the content, that you put it to use, and by all means, after you have learned these amazing 7 strategies, write about it on social media, tag me, let me know how it's working for you. And don't forget, in the body of this email, there's a link to a PDF that you can print out and keep at your desk to keep it top of mind. Anyway, enjoy this free exclusive content and make sure you not only watch it, you put it to use. The most important thing that I want you to think about is visibility. Because you don't get credit for things people don't see. There is visible work and there is invisible work. And way too many of you spend your time doing invisible work that nobody knows about. And study after study after study, you want to know the number one indicator of whether or not you're going to get paid more. It's this. Are your contributions visible? That is the number one thing that will determine whether or not you make more money. Are the things that you're contributing here at work, do people even know about them? I have got an excellent example of this. If you have a job where people are constantly asking you the same questions, every time somebody asks you the questions on a phone call, guess what? Nobody sees it. Nobody knows you're doing it. But if you were to create an FAQ, a guide to the questions you're constantly answered, and you circulate it to the senior people on your team and everybody on your team, guess what just happened? That's pretty visible, isn't it? So I want you to start to think in a different paradigm when it comes to who you are and what you have to offer. Because you're not going to get credit for things that people aren't aware of. And so here's some 5-second behavior changes that you're not going to feel like. But based on the research, this makes a huge difference in visibility. Number 1, sit front and center. Don't you dare walk into a conference room, even though it's a habit, and go to the edge. If you're at a long oval table, you sit in the middle. Do not sit on the ends. And the reason why I don't want you sitting on the ends is because if somebody at the end is talking on the opposite end, nobody can see you. I want you right in the middle where you can be seen. Another thing. Stop taking notes. Yes. I'll tell you why. Does she look like she has a killer point to make? Does she look like a strategic contributor in this meeting? I understand why we do it. We do it because we're diligent and we want to make sure we don't forget something and we want to make sure that we can go back and remember. What I'm talking about is write down a couple key bullets. Do not transcribe the meeting. Because if you're busy transcribing what's going on, you're not going to make any interesting points. Your whole body language is like this. And based on all of the research, this is the kind of work that women end up doing. And I want you to stop doing it. Here's a handy tip. Look, I'm a lawyer, so there are meetings that I need to actually have detailed notes in. If there's an important point, jot it down. But stop transcribing meetings. Your body language shows that you've got nothing to contribute and your mind is focused on transcribing instead of participating, which is what we want you to do. Always speak in a meeting. Always. Don't ever leave a meeting. I don't care if you're introverted, if this is terrifying for a lot of people. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Even if all you're doing is agreeing, because people only know what you're doing based on what they see and hear. And a meeting is a very visible place to be seen. And there's some interesting research about this because women that speak less in meetings are perceived to have less influence. You want to manage this. So if you're uncomfortable presenting new ideas because this is new to you and you consider yourself introverted, no problem. Listen to what people are doing and raise your hand and piggyback off of what somebody else said and just compliment their idea. That's it. And look, this is the 5-second window. That alarm goes off. I got something to say. Do I say it? Do I not? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It all comes down to these small moments where you got to manage your visibility. Here's another thing. This is particularly true in technical fields. They did a really interesting survey of CFOs, and 30% of CFOs said the single most important skill to succeed that they look for in promoting people is whether or not you're learning new skills and you're bringing new skills, and particularly in tech where everything is changing. And I think a lot of times we look at asking to take a class or asking to get certified in something as you admitting that you have a weakness. It's actually the opposite. It's a very visible moment to go to the people in your organization, to do your own skill gap, to see where the industry's going, to realize everybody's talking agile. Maybe I should take a course in agile. Maybe I should take a course in design thinking. Maybe I should take a course in AI. Maybe I should do something online so that in meetings I can start to talk about things that I'm seeing. This is a very visible way to say, I'm the kind of person that wants to grow. I'm the kind of person that's bringing new skills to the table. Now, here's a huge one. Apply for the job. I think all of us heard the research that came out of HP, where they studied candidates and they saw that when men thought they were 60% qualified, they threw their hat in the ring. And women, discouragingly, the number was that we had to feel 100% qualified. Now, I was really annoyed when I saw that. And so we dug into the source research, and there was a great professor at Harvard Business School that tore that research apart, and she found something really interesting. Because everybody that wrote about that study, men 60%, women 100%, they all said the reason why we do that is we're not confident. Do you want to know the real reason? It actually has nothing to do with confidence. You see, we look at a list of requirements as requirements.
That's your first.
Yes, they are suggestions, okay? They're suggestions. A lot of you are making the same mistake on dating, okay? So it's literally, it's suggestions. And so what was happening is we look at a list of requirements because so many of us are like, okay, we got to get everything right. We got to check all the boxes. We got to be perfect on this stuff. And we think it's a waste of time. It wasn't about confidence. It was about efficiency. And so if you feel 60%, like, okay, I got at least over 50. I'm not going to be embarrassed walking in there. Apply. And here's why. It's an incredibly visible thing to do. So by simply applying for a job that you don't get, guess what happens? You signal to the folks in those roles above you that you are interested in growing. And then after the process, you can now have the relationship to go and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get some feedback. What's the gap I need to close? What would you recommend I do in the next year in terms of professional development so that when I show up next year, knocking on your door, because I see 70% I'm qualified for, what do I need to be doing? So very visible moment. Super critical that you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop doubting yourself and throw that application in. Here was a really, really, really amazing piece of research because I think, at least for women my age, we grew up in a mode of time where it really was true that the opportunities were scarce and you were kind of elbowing each other out of the way, whether it was in a law firm or somewhere else to get the spot for the woman. And so there was competition, right? It's true. It's true. A lot of us felt that way. And I'm so happy that this is disappearing because there is enough success for all of us. And, we all know the research that more diverse teams are more innovative. More diverse teams and leadership are more profitable in companies. I want to share with you this piece of research that I was like, yes! So, when you celebrate other women, and when, as a woman, your core group includes a majority of women around you, guess what? This is a study from Northwestern and Notre Dame. You're 2.5 times more likely to be promoted to management. That it's the exact opposite of what we all thought. And that it's 75% of women that say they have very strong, dominant women's circles at work. Those are the ones that are getting promoted. And so please cheer for your colleagues. Please don't abandon everybody as you're, kind of clawing your way to the top, if that's what you want to do. Here's another thing. So find a mentor. First, you got to find a mentor. And let me explain the difference between a mentor and a sponsor. A mentor is somebody that talks to you. A sponsor is somebody that talks about you. Big difference. And there was a study that was done where they tracked MBA students, and I know that we have folks internationally watching, and so you should know that this was a study that was done internationally, India, Canada, USA, a bunch of countries in Asia. And so here's what I want you to understand, the women in this room in particular. So they tracked these MBA students, and they were really curious. If you got a sponsor or a mentor, did it make a difference after a year in your salary and whether or not you were promoted? The answer is yes, but when you dig into the research and look at the difference it made for dudes versus women, it's really discouraging. And there's a reason why, and the reason why is because of the mistake that we make as women in who we're choosing as our mentors. And so when men graduated from an MBA program and they got a mentor, after 1 year, the men who had mentors were making $7,000 more than the men who didn't. When women had a mentor, after year 1, yes, they were making more money than women who didn't have a mentor, but it was only $661. Yes. And here's the reason why. Most of us pick our bosses as our mentors. And so that means, no offense to anybody's boss, it's just that you've usually only got somebody one level above you. And so their point of view about what's going on in the organization isn't as big as going several levels above you. And so if there was somebody in your interview process that you had a great connection with, go back to them. And how do you find a mentor? Visibility. Visibility. You can ask people if they would be willing to mentor you, to meet you a couple times a year, to give you some advice. Sponsorship comes when you become visible, because that's how people talk about you. So it goes back to all these skills I'm talking about that are 5-second decisions. Am I speaking in a meeting? Am I walking into a room and sitting at the end or the edges, or I'm going right up front? Am I taking notes, or am I writing down key bullets? Am I applying for jobs? These are all 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're going to see these opportunities all day long. Since I'm over, I'm going to end right there. But here's the thing. We are online every day. We put out so much content. It is ridiculous. And it is content that is designed to push you, to empower you. We always cite the stuff that we are putting out there. And so please, please, please do not let this be the end of our time together. Let it be the beginning. Okay?